Hello and welcome to another Tri-tutors video. We are doing another 5-minute poetry review today, and today we are going to be looking at the poem Vultures. Remember, these videos are not intended to teach you the entire poem, but merely just to review the key points. So vultures are scavengers. They live to find the suffering of others. The way that they live is they feed on your weakness. So when someone or something, an animal, is dying, the vultures will circle, indicating that this person, seems like they're going to die, and they are then going to feed off their remains. So they have extremely negative connotations. This is a very interesting poem. Even though it's called Vultures, it's actually a comment on human nature. We start off. In the greyness and drizzle of one despondent dawn, unstirred by harbingers of sunbreak, a vulture. So in the greyness, we'll notice greyness and drizzle and dawn. These are in-between stages. Grey, it's not black, it's not white. A drizzle, it's not raining properly yet, it's not raining. Dawn is also an in-between stage. And this is significant because of what vultures represent. Vultures were created in the way that they are. So even though they seem to be extremely negative, extremely evil, right? They feed on others' weakness. That was how they were created. And this is the cross between the good and the evil. This is the complexity of human nature. Drizzle of despondent, we have alliteration, which emphasizes the foreboding and threatening tone. Harbingers signal that there is a death. Of sunbreak, a vulture. Here we have a lot of enjambment throughout this poem, and the effect is it emphasizes the continuous nature of the cycle of the vulture circling to find its prey. So enjambment always shows a continuation, and here it's in a continuous cycle of life. Perching high on a broken bone of a dead tree. So here we have perching high, we have alliteration of broken bone of a dead tree, and this is a very harsh sound. Bone has a connotation of death, so instead of using the word branch, we use the word bone. A dead tree is also quite a shocking image because it sounds wrong, because trees usually represent life. Nestled close to his mate, his smoothed bashed-in head, a pebble on a stem rooted in a dump of gross feathers, inclined affectionately to hers. So this is a really interesting set of lines. So we have a very, very negative portrayal of the vultures, but we also have a positive portrayal of them. The diction, the word choice, is ever shifting between positive and negative. Nestled has connotations of comfort, love, and care, but then we have a bashed in head, which indicates violence and danger. A dump of gross feathers is quite a disgusting image, and then these feathers are inclined affectionately, so we have gross and then we have affectionate. We notice in this line, to hers, yesterday they picked. Here we have caesura. A caesura is a full stop or a pause in the middle of the line. And the effect here is to emphasize the shocking image of the vulture, who was portrayed negatively, engaging in a human-like action and showcasing love and care. It also slows the pace down, so it's like, take note of what's being said. This is unnatural, this image of a vulture who is associated with so much negativity and, disgust and selfishness, now being affectionate and being loving and caring. The eyes, yesterday they picked the eyes of a swollen corpse in the waterlogged trench and ate the thing in its bowel. What a disgusting image to bring to our attention here. Picked bowel, this diction emphasizing disgusting actions and motivations. Sorry, there's a spelling mistake there. Motivations, being so sinister. And now what's important is, full gorge they chose their roost, keeping the hollowed remnant in easy range of cold telescopic eyes. This is really significant because their nature is to be disgusting and to feed on others' weakness. But now the fact that they're full gorged, it shows that they are greedy and they have a sense of agency. So the fact that they have chosen, so they haven't chosen their innate need to go and eat off a dead remains, but the fact that they've been greedy about it shows their agency. And later on, when we talk about this in terms of human nature, we're going to talk about how the commandant also chooses. He has evil within him, but he chooses to act on it. It's the sense of free will. Keeping the hollowed remnant means like the empty remains. Now they always ask this question about cold telescopic eyes. And what you need to remember is you need to unpack cold and telescopic. So when they ask you the effect of the words cold and telescopic eyes, cold shows that they're unfeeling. These creatures are unfeeling, and telescopic shows that they're cunning, right? It's like almost they're looking, they're trying to find all these different remains so that they can gorge themselves. The ellipsis, there are many ellipses in this poem, and this shows this continuation. There is more. This goes on for a long time. There's a long list of these atrocities, but it also is sort of the speaker just sort of he's speaking and he's trailing off as he thinks about this. And now we're going to get to this reflection part of the poem. Strange, indeed, how love in other ways so particular will pick a corner in that charnel house, tidy it and coil up there, perhaps even fall asleep. And so here we have this reflection, strange, one word on a line for emphasis, and he says love is always there in some capacity. So he personifies love as this person, as this woman who has, even in a terrible situation, coils up in the corner. Love is always there, not turned to the wall, not being called on at this point. We have a further ellipsis, and now we're going to get an allusion or a reference to the Holocaust. Thus the commandant at Belsen. Bergen-Belsen was a concentration camp where people were sent to death or sent to work until they died, essentially, during the Holocaust. So do some research on the Holocaust to fully understand this reference and what we're speaking about here. But talking about the commandant at Belsen is giving us a picture of the epitome of evil. These people, these Nazis who brought so many people, millions of people to their deaths in the most inhumane and despicable and disgusting ways, are the epitome of evil. Going home for the day with fumes of human rose clinging rebelliously to his hair. So he's going to describe this commandant, and this commandant, he's going to describe him in a very shocking way, because he's going to, like he did with the Vultures, he's going to contrast the way in which he is incredibly evil, but at the same time he is still a human being. And so he talks about the fumes of human roast. Now this is a shocking image. The words human and roast should never be together in this way. And it really makes us even think about the smell. It involves the senses. It's emphasizing the shocking experience that what he's been doing is just killing multitudes of people and burning them. And then we have a negative depiction of how he actually looks. But then we have this extremely shocking image because he stops at the wayside sweet shop, which almost sounds magical and fairy tale-esque. And he picks up a chocolate, and he doesn't say he gives it to his children, but it's to his tender offspring. And so just think of the connotations of that and how sort of baffling it is to hear someone so evil being described in that way. Waiting at home for daddy's return. The same person has two identities. There's this juxtaposition between this loving father and this brutal and despicable commander. We have another ellipsis. Praise bounteous, which means thank goodness. Now we get to the ultimate sort of conclusion of this poem. Praise bounteous, providence, if you will, that grants even an ogre a tiny glowworm of tenderness. There should be a T there, encapsulated in icy caverns of a cruel heart. So now we have this final comment on human nature, and the speaker says, thank goodness that even within an ogre, and the connotations of an ogre are these big, monstrous, scary, evil creatures, there is a tiny glowworm. So within every evil person, at least there's even a tiny glowworm, a glimmer of goodness, a tiny bit of optimism or hope remains that they could be potentially good. There is a little bit of positivity. Tenderness encapsulated, and this tiny glowworm of goodness is encapsulated in icy caverns of a cruel heart. We have wonderful use of alliteration here, which emphasizes the depths of the evilness, right? So it's almost like this empty cave, this cruel cave. It's devoid of goodness. So this caverns is a metaphor for the evilness, which is encapsulating and this glimmer of goodness, or else despair. For in the very germ of that kindred love is lodged the perpetuity of evil. And so then we have quite a interesting conclusion to this ultimate sort of conclusion. He says, even within that goodness, within that tiny glowworm of goodness, within that kindred love, there is still a sense of evil. And perpetuity means it's going to continue for a long time. And so it shows the longevity of evil, that evil is everlasting. we have this connection between love and evil. And I think that's quite a significant connection to be made. There's this connection of opposites. And if you think about it, if you don't have love, then you can't have evil. If you don't have evil, then you can't have love. We need to have the opposites in order for the other one to exist. And in this poem, the speaker is commenting on this connection between love and evil and whether or not we have that aspect within us. What aspect do we have? Is it about choice? Do we have both within us? Or do we just have one? And I think that he's arguing that we do have both, but that evil is can be more powerful at times. But we need to consider that there's this ounce of love within that should blossom through. So what is the message or the theme? We are all born with the innate sense of evil, but we have the choice of whether to act on it or not. The vultures and the commandant, who is the epitome of evil, have evil within them and they choose to act on it. However, we all have a choice on how to act, and no matter how evil we are, there is a glimmer of light, goodness, and hope. The tone at times is harsh, reflective, critical, ominous, foreboding, gloomy, and dark. At the end, though, it can be somewhat reflective and hopeful. There's an impending sense of doom throughout the poem. So this has been way longer than 5 minutes, but this is a very detailed and interesting poem to analyze. I hope that you understand the metaphoric significance of the vulture, the use of the commandant in relaying the point about human nature, and the ultimate theme, message, and tone of the poem. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.